Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Executive Committee of the Bi-State Development Board. Could you please call the roll, Myra?
Commissioner Windmiller,
Present.
Commissioner Zimmerman,
Here.
Commissioner Simmons,
Here.
Commissioner Costello,
Present.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Gladney,
Present.
Commissioner Cox,
Here.
Commissioner Beach,
Here.
Commissioner Galladay, Commissioner Johnson.
We have a quorum.
Yes, we do.
Great, thank you. On your agenda, you'll see the reason for the meeting today, a resolution of the Executive Committee of the Board of Commissioners of the Bi-State Development Agency, fixing and determining the final terms of the agency's taxable arch tram refunding revenue bonds, which is Series 2021 Resolution 1149. And I think Tammy Fulbright is going to give us an explanation.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Yes, I'm hoping you can hear me. I think I'm having some connection problems. The compact allows for BSD to issue bonds, and in December of 2014, we issued 7.6 million in bonds for the National Park Service for the replacement of the motor generators for the trams and a portion of the roof over the visitor center. The rate at that time was 4.016%. And in March of 2020, we received approval from the board that when markets were favorable, we could go out and look for an opportunity to refund these bonds at a rate not to exceed 3.6%. We currently have a rate that we can refund at 2.52%, which would allow for $32,000 a year in debt service saving payments. And the payments are paid strictly from pledged revenue from ticket sales at the Arch. So today we're here to ask for the approval of the resolution by the board for the refunding of these bonds. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for Tammy? Seeing none, I'm going to move forward on the vote. The full board, by passage of Resolution 1059, previously authorized the Executive Committee composed of the chair, the vice chair, the treasurer, and the secretary to finalize the refinancing of these bonds with specific instructions regarding a vote for approval. Therefore, only members of the Executive Committee will participate in this vote. So we need a motion and a roll call, please.
So move.
Is there a second from the Executive Committee member?
Yes, I will second. This is Justin.
Thank you. Can we now have a roll call vote, please?
Hey, we really just need the motion and the second from the executive committee.
Oh, okay. My script says we need a vote, so, okay. We're okay with just the motion and the second?
But they should both be from the executive committee.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vernell. So Vernell's motion has to, I need a motion from either Fred, Justin, or,
So moved.
thank you.
I will second Fred's motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that all we need?
Correct.
And a roll call.
We do need a roll call vote.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Commissioner Costello,
Aye.
Commissioner Zimmerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Commissioner Windmiller.
Aye.
The motion passed.
Thank you. If there's no further business, I request a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned. I don't think we need anything. We don't need a roll call vote. So the next order of business will safety and security meeting.
Call the Safety and Security Committee meeting to order on Thursday, August 12th. Myra, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Simmons,
Here.
Commissioner Winmiller,
Present.
Commissioner Cox,
Here.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Galladay,
Here.
Commissioner Costello,
Present.
Commissioner Gladney,
Present.
Commissioner Beach,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Zimmerman.
Here.
Thank you. Was there any speaker cards submitted?
No, Chair, there were no speaker cards for today's safety meeting.
Very good. Thank you. At this time, moving to item number 4, we need approval of the minutes of the April 8th, 2021 Safety and Security meeting, open meeting. If there's no corrections to be made to these minutes, we need a motion and a vote needed to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
A voice vote is sufficient.
Okay. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those ayes have it. At this time, item number 5, a contract amendment allowing the extension of the grant administration agreement for additional Metro Security Scorecard updates and the implementation assistance. Kevin Scott, you're with us. Can you give us a update on that?
Unmute.
Kevin, you're muted.
How about now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. I'm hoping you've seen the latest scorecard update released for Q2 of 2022. Of the 6 primary focal areas of the evaluation that WSP did, we still are a work in progress in 3 specific categories having to do with overall fair policy, some aspects or many aspects of crime prevention through environmental design, and certainly technology upgrades. We've been in a relationship with WSP, obviously, since 2018, and our team since September of 2019. We feel like that this extension is very important as we continue to consult with them on matters in those areas where we continue to lack. I mean, our goal is to have full realization of these recommendations. So what we're really asking for today, and what I've discussed with the colleagues at East West Gateway, is the total cost for 4 more scorecards would be $29,060. There is still $14,436 remaining from the last funding approval. And that's because during COVID, there were no travel expenses at all. So all we're asking for is an extension of $14,624 to make up the difference. This will allow for consultation for 4 more quarters, 4 more evaluations, and 2 of those, it will allow for 2 in-person on-site evaluations and 2 virtual evaluations. We also meet with the WSP team on a monthly basis in conjunction with East West Gateway to discuss progress and to receive consultation from them. So I know my colleague, Mr. Giassi, is also on the call. I do want to go over some of the things that we're still actively working on, if you would indulge me just for a minute, and then I would like to turn this over to him to also weigh in on the importance of this. But in overall security strategy, discussions are ongoing to identify enterprise-wide safety and security performance criteria for all of our staff positions. And again, this is a weekly meeting. This is a weekly ongoing effort. WSP's last quarterly evaluation was their first on-site review in a year. And quite frankly, some of the categories that we had reported as completed were not completed to their satisfaction. And so we continue to work on that with them. One was the code of conduct signage. So we're working with our maintenance teams to re-secure signage in high visibility locations, station by station. And Andrew Giassi and his team are kind of overseeing that. As far as fair enforcement and fair policy goes, obviously clear fair enforcement policies are being developed related to all types of fair media, as well as being backed by the legal requirements that pertain to that effort. And so their consult is very important to us from a security standpoint there as well. As far as passenger assist telephones, emergency phones, ticketing validation machines, all these current systems are being evaluated. Mr. Giassi and his team are leading that effort as well, and continue to consult with WSP on a weekly basis. And then lastly, the most important thing is technology upgrades that include both CCTV and how that will relate to security usage and a real-time camera capacity, and how that technology we are working to turn hopefully from a very reactive security force multiplier to a very proactive security force multiplier. And then crime prevention through environmental design. There's certainly still some concerns there with signage, with lighting, and other aspects that Jason Powell and Andrew Giassi are working on with WSP. So this is just an overview of ongoing efforts that we are continuing to make to reach full realization of the recommendations. And so if you don't mind, Andrew, would you mind jumping in and talking about some of these issues?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody, Board of Commissioners. I think Kevin summed it up well. There are a number of initiatives that did not score as high as we would have liked on the last scorecard update. And so our team is committed to moving these areas forward. The areas, as Kevin said, include the overall security strategy, code of conduct signage, fair enforcement, PATs, emergency telephones, the overall CCTV system overhaul, our SEPTED enhancements, and then our shared radio channel is also a critical area. So our teams have committed internally weekly. We are the WST leadership team informed throughout every avenue as we go forward. We are hopeful that we will have some great strides in these areas to improve them further.
So just to summarize, the request today, Mr. Chairman, is for the $14,624 of additional funding needed to meet the total cost of $29,060, and consult with East West Gateway. Any of these funds that are not used or not required over the course of the next 4 quarters will be returned to by state.
Okay, and before I open it up for any questions to the commissioners, as you know, Kevin, you and I talked yesterday, and I had some concerns that I wanted to just go on record today as saying that I support what you're reporting today and what you're asking for, because I think it's a small price to pay for where we were and where we come from. I guess a couple of questions I have is the statement was made by the gentleman that we didn't score high as they anticipated. Is there any particular reason why? You know, we paid for a consulting firm to give us some guidance.
Yeah.
So can you first tell me why we didn't score what the anticipated high was?
So I can speak to that. I think one of the things that really did play into this is in some of these categories, we had provided information virtually to them.
Yep.
Their assessments were virtual over 2020. And I think the big difference is when they did their on-site evaluation in Q2 of 2021, they were here for 3 days. They saw things that they did not feel were completed adequately to their expectations. And so we've gone back to revisit that. And we did ask them as they did the evaluation to reflect those shortcomings on the report card so that we could continue to work on them.
Yep. And one other thing, 2 things. Are we going to see in the near future a time that the scorecard is completed? You know, I see these fancy colorful cards that we get, and I appreciate all the work that's being done on that, but you know, we paid a pretty hefty price for a consulting study to be done. And I think there's got to come a time when we in-house should take the reins and make sure that those suggestions and recommendations are being implemented. I mean, I guess my question, are we going to continue to have a consulting firm on board as we go forward for years and years, or is there going to come a drop dead date?
No, I think, so as it pertains to WSP, this will be our final request. Okay.
Yep.
But I got to tell you, Mr. Chair, I am a huge proponent of outside overview, third-party overview. And so I have a focus of, once the WSP team is not active, maintaining a component of outside third-party overview to ensure transparency, to hold us accountable, and to provide information to the region on our progress. And so we have a component in place now in the Transit Advisory Working Group that we've been working with for a number of months, actually, since we've been here. It's comprised of a number of different stakeholders. Kim Sella is the chair with Citizens for Modern Transit. But I think it's important, as we work on the details and the final minutia of the 99 recommendations, to maintain the relationship with WSP. But I anticipate this being our last and final request for any extensions with them.
I appreciate that. Does any of the other commissioners have questions of Kevin Scott about this proposal?
Rose, you go ahead, and then I'll go after you.
Okay. First of all, thanks for the background, Kevin. I appreciate it. And Andrew as well. I didn't see anything in our board book which actually delineated what you actually described. All I have is the actual request for an extension. So if there's any kind of written information about what that extension will cover, if you could share it with the board, I would be appreciative, just so I can have that as part of my record. Because all that I have here is basically, you know, sort of an analysis. Is that possible?
Yes, ma'am. I'll work with East West Gateway. I'm sorry, go ahead. I will work with East West Gateway and our leadership to provide that. The funding model obviously initiated before we got here. And so as the extension was requested, I worked with my colleagues at East West Gateway on what the total cost would be and how much money would be needed to fulfill one more year. But we can put a more detailed report together for you, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to see exactly what the additional year is going to provide.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not so concerned because as you indicated, it's not a tremendous amount of money. I just want to see what the deliverables are. The second question or comment I had is kind of a follow-up to what you suggested, Kevin, which is that we continue to have a strong compliance and oversight, a third-party oversight for all these all the safety and security features that we're putting into place, so that we can on a regular basis provide information to the public, but also so that we can make appropriate changes and upgrades as needed. So I don't know whether or not that's part of, and maybe this question is directed more at Talby, but I don't know if that's part of what we have budgeted for safety and security, but certainly third-party oversight or some kind of audit needs to come into any future budget recommendations that we see as a board. I just offer that as a suggestion.
Sure, and just for clarification, Chair, if you will, the way the WSP contract works specifically is we're using a joint CMAQ funding, which does sit here at BSD, but we are transferring that money over to East West Gateway because they are the overseers specifically of that contract, thereby giving that third party fiduciary, a little more credential. Additionally, TOG is a critical part. So the Transit Advisory Working Group is a critical component to that third-party review. And I think maybe enhanced by professional consultants as they see fit. This next year of WSP scorecards is, I think, a good component for it starting. It may be in the future, though, after that year that, for instance, our internal audit department may be able to take over some of these pieces of oversight, should the board be comfortable with that. Crystal Messner has done an excellent job as our new chief audit executive, and she's already gone through a few specific audits, especially oriented under the safety oversight component and with the FTA. Going through the triennial review, that means that they have moved their qualifications up in that type of review. So I'll be looking forward to providing that within the budget as we move forward.
Thank you, Toby. Justin, you had a comment?
Yeah, I need to start insisting I get to speak first. You guys are taking all the good questions. Just to kind of highlight this, and I want to be clear, these scorecards, I think especially initially, are helpful, but this is not evaluating whether security is going well, whether security is going poorly. This is just simply evaluating whether we're implementing the WSP plan. And, BISAID always shares this with us, but I would strongly encourage the commissioner. I've been taking the last few minutes to pull up the East-West Gateway website to kind of do a side-by-side comparison of these last two. And I understand Kevin's explanation, and I believe it, but I thought back in the first quarter of this year, this was 90% done, and it was kind of, we were moving beyond this, and it does look like, some of the on-site findings show we're not quite there, but I think we've had 2 years of these scorecards. It's kind of time to move beyond this and have a new metric for an outside evaluation, analyzing how we're doing with security, maybe providing some context to the data we're being provided. I 100% support that and will insist upon that. But at this point, I know the cost is low and it's kind of minimal, but the WSP scorecard, I think it's kind of run its course. So I just highlight the comments the other two commissioners have made. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on it and kind of where I stand on this.
Thanks, Justin. Just to follow up to that real quick, one of the examples that I bring up, Kevin, is, and I know you have been deeply and rooted in the communication package here, and I feel we are closer now than we ever have been, but I'm also a believer in giving credit where credit's due, and Jim Wild from East-West Gateway has been very instrumental with working with Toby and everybody to pull that package together. And that should have been done 2 years ago. And that's what I'm saying. The scorecard, as Justin just said, I think it's been very instrumental in helping us get to where we are now, but we got to take the reins here and we got to move forward and instead of relying on this card, just tell us where we know we already are. So I'll be quiet on that now. Everybody knows my stance.
My question would be, I think Andrew actually hit, if I heard it right, one of the bad things on the scorecard was the code of conduct signage, if I heard that right. So
that's correct.
The things that we're lacking on this WSP study that we've had now, for 3 years now, but where are we at with that signage and stuff? Is there a reason that it's not up, or?
So currently, our maintenance teams have been dispatched to re-secure the signage in more highly visible locations. We're actually removing all conflicting signage, and the weekly meetings are encouraging a station-by-station update. It's all about getting the right information to the WSP team for that input and feedback, and then to mark the scores higher. So that's where we're at currently.
But they're actually going up, I guess, for customers to see.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Station by station, weekly updates are given. And that's what that committee was formed to do.
Okay.
I appreciate, I think a lot's been accomplished over the last few years. It's clear that we have a way to go yet. One of the things in my own organization I always try to emphasize is don't reinvent the wheel. Go out there and see who the ones who are doing something best, how they're doing it, and let's borrow from them and model. Are we doing that similarly here? Those organizations that we think are really doing it well, what are they doing and how can we model, learn from them, so to speak?
So yes, Commissioner, I would say, and part of the WSP process did bring in some peer agencies. And then, for instance, part of this is also the pivot from WSP to what are internal documents. And of course, we'll be going over that shortly in the Q2 incident report, getting to more of the specific, I would say, incident data. So speaking, for instance, to Commissioner Zimmerman's comment about where are we going as far as where our raw statistical data is concerned with incidents on the system. So we are moving to that kind of pivot where we are running it more on our own, including, but being informed by some of our peer agencies, specifically WMATA was involved in that peer review, as was Portland, of course. And it may make sense that especially as we do a peer review later in the years, let's say maybe in FY22, we may bring in some of those peer agencies to review our system to take that critique to accomplish indeed the thing that you mentioned today. So that certainly is part of the process, along with kind of local control through a transit working group, and of course through East West Gateway. And I agree wholeheartedly with Commissioner Simmons that we have built a strong relationship with East West Gateway and Jim Wild in particular for us moving forward with these kind of concepts of looking at what peer agencies are doing and trying to be aggressive about security.
Any other questions or comments on this proposal? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve Kevin's request.
So moved.
We have a motion, have a second.
Second.
A roll call vote is what we need. Is that correct?
A voice vote sufficient. I'm sorry, a voice vote sufficient.
Voice, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it. The next item on the agenda is the memorandum of understanding with the St.
Hey,
Louis.
sorry. Would you just note Zimmerman was a nay on that? Sorry, just a
Okay.
nay.
Would you
So
make
noted.
sure the record reflects that, please?
So noted.
Next item, memorandum of understanding with the St. Louis County, Missouri Police Department for secondary police officers. Kevin, you have that one also.
Yes, this is simply consistent with the other secondary MOU agreements that we have. As I've explained before, we, on the Missouri side, focus on about 18 locations or positions a day where we use secondary or off-duty officers. But what you have to understand is that's a voluntary pool. And what is important is that pool have enough officers in it to help us fulfill those needs. Because they all work different schedules, they have different assignments, they have different training mandates. So we don't have a lot of consistency with the people that work. The city sheriff's department has done a good job stabilizing a number of the locations through the city, but a lot of those officers are being pulled to other details, other training requirements. So the MOU allows for us to continue to build that pool and allow for off-duty St. Louis County police officers to participate. Again, we're not asking to add positions or add hours. We're asking to just enter into this agreement so that we can onboard those available officers that would be willing to work for us in a secondary capacity. Again, the pay rate when they work, they're onboarded as part-time employees, and the pay rate when they work is in Missouri is $33 an hour.
Any questions for Kevin on this?
I've got one.
Yes.
And maybe I should have asked this before with previous agreements, but something that isn't addressed in this MOU, have we looked at if there are any pension obligations that the agency is getting as a result of this? I mean, this is a little bit of the area of the law that I practice, and sometimes what will happen, especially with folks that have a union and have a pension, you know, if they're doing covered work, even if they're not doing covered work for that union, however it's defined as covered work, if they're doing that, there are pension obligations owed on their behalf. And I just want to make sure that that analysis has been done. I've never seen their bargaining agreement or any of their pension docs, but I just want to make sure that somebody has and can kind of answer that question so we can make that decision smartly and we're not, you know, forgetting an obligation. So has that been done?
Kevin, can you answer that?
So the agreement, so their mode of practice over there is that their secondary participation is not coordinated through their agency, that they're on their own to do that. They just have to seek approval by their leadership. It's a completely separate component. If we hired them and paid them through the department, I think there would be an impact there. But I would have to refer to council on the language in the MOU.
Okay, I mean, I'm supportive of this. I just want to make sure that we're not, if we're taking on additional obligations, because I know that's been a snag, not necessarily for police in the past, but, you know, for construction and other areas of the trade. Just if you're doing work that's not for your primary employer, if it's covered work, there can still be obligations for us to pay into, and I want to make sure that we're looking at that. But that's all I have.
Commissioner Gladney, if I may.
I think we need to get closer to the.
This program, the secondary program, has been in effect for quite a number of years for Bi-State. And so, you know, it was certainly vetted at the time it was implemented. We can certainly take another look just to see if anything has changed over that time frame, but it's been a pretty consistent effort, the way it has been established up to now. So, but we can certainly take another look just to make sure.
Okay, and it might be a quick look
and get back to you.
Yep, and it might not be a big deal. It just, you know as well as I do, sometimes with this saying that it's been done for a while doesn't necessarily mean it's been done right for a while. So thank you for your attention to this. And that's all I have.
Absolutely be happy to.
Appreciate it. Thanks for that good question. It's always good to get out in front of something like that. So we need a vote on this. Is that correct?
Correct.
So moved.
And a second? And
second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 And we have one no. Did I hear that? Hello? I think I'm having some audio issues. Hello?
Were there any no votes?
I was having some audio.
We can hear you. There's no.
Okay, so it passed, correct?
Unanimously.
Very good. Item 7, update on the Allied Universal acquisition of the Geforce solutions. Kevin, you're the trifecta today.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So provided correspondence to Mr. Roach on this transaction. I don't know if most of you remember the procurement process that we went through, but G4S and Allied Universal were both finalists in that process. As a matter of corporate acquisition, Allied Universal has acquired G4S, and that has taken effect. As you know, we're in year 2 of a 3-year contract with 2 1-year extensions. The G4S performance has been very solid. Their in-house leadership is extraordinary. The contract remains intact, and we don't foresee any issues or changes with anything that our company or our customers will see. The in-house leadership will still continue. We did meet with Allied Universal leadership as articulated in the memorandum to talk about and give them a very detailed overview about where we have come with our public safety program, the importance of what they do for us on the system and their assimilation into our overall leadership team. And I've listed the individuals that we met with that day. The only change that we'll see effective October the 8th is just the breast patch on the uniform changing from G4S to Allied Universal. All of the uniforms requirements that we've agreed to through the WSP process, the logos that we put on the uniforms, how we use contract security, none of that will change.
Any questions for Kevin on this one?
Just a quick one.
Yes.
Kevin, it really doesn't, it's sort of ancillary to this, but what is the vaccination policy for our contract security? And maybe if you don't know that, perhaps Talby could speak to that issue.
I would have to research it. I don't know specifically their vaccination rate.
Do you know whether or not they're requiring vaccines?
They are not, no, they are not requiring vaccines.
Then I think it would be helpful to know what the rate of vaccination is among our contract employees as well as our regular employees.
I can certainly find that out.
Any other questions for Kevin on this? This is for information only. Hearing none. Item number 8, Talby, you have any comments? Informational only?
I have very brief comments. I want to bring to your attention the Metrolink Task Force Incident Report, which was in your compact. What we're trying to do is, at the request of this board, come to kind of a concise report that you can see graphically about where our incidents are going over time. This will be a consistent report that will be available publicly. And it's intended just to indeed give us that measuring stick of where we are headed as far as overall incidents on the system. And specifically, are there some individual stations that there more attention is needed, and to reflect where maybe we need to look at things specifically. I like the form and function of this report. It is it's simple and straightforward, and I think it gives you a good snapshot of where things are going. It will be more and more valuable, however, as we gather this information over several years and quarters, where we'll be able to see trends. And we see these kind of trends, of course, into the transit industry, associated with weather, associated with economic conditions, and I think we'll continue to see that, but this will give us that baseline to react. So most of my other comments I want to reserve for executive session, as we have a couple of big items to cover there. So I'll try to be brief and be sure there aren't any questions about the specific task force incident report.
Any questions on Talby on that information?
Just a real quick comment, because I agree. I think it's a little premature to start, comparing or doing hard comparisons. But this is what I was talking about earlier. I think it might be helpful, either the staff who are professionals in this industry or an outside consultant, at least in my mind, to kind of digest this for us. Although I do like the format of this, but to digest this for us and give us some assistance understanding or appreciating this. So I guess I'll defer to future meetings or to the executive session to discuss it further, but that's my only comment.
Fine, thank you, Justin. Any other comments? Hearing none. Talby, is there any unscheduled business?
No, Commissioner.
Very good, thank you. Meyer, will you call the upcoming dates for the meetings?
Yes, the next Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee will be held on Friday, August 20th at 8:30. And the next Board of Commissioners meeting will be held on Friday, September 24th at 8:30.
Very good, thank you. At this time, a vote is needed to move into an executive session for the purpose of discussing matters as permitted under by State Development Board Policy Chapter 10, Section 10.80, D1, legal, D11, security, and D16, rail, bus, or facility, safety, and accidents. It's my understanding that the information being provided in the executive session is for information only and no votes will be needed. Therefore, if there's no objections, I would also recommend the meeting be adjourned at the executive session without returning to the open meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second? A roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Winmiller,
Aye.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Zimmerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons,
Yes.
Commissioner Costello,
Aye.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Galladay,
Yes.
Commissioner Gladney,
Aye.
Commissioner Beach.
Yes.
The motion passed.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm calling the Operations Committee meeting of the Bi-State Development Board of Commissioners together on Thursday, August 12th, 9:45 a.m. Myra, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Winmiller,
Present.
Commissioner Cox,
Here.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Galladay,
Here.
Commissioner Beach,
Here.
Commissioner Costello, Commissioner Zimmerman, Commissioner Simmons,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Gladney.
Here.
Thank you. I believe you distributed a comment card that was received in the last day or two. Myra, can you tell us if there were other cards or whether or not that needs to be read?
This was the only speaker card presented. It was from John Kelly regarding public transportation expansion. He stated, "I commute from my home in Alton, Illinois to my workplace in Town and Country, Missouri 4 times per week. Unfortunately, public transit would take 3 to 4 hours one way and is not active when I get off work at 12:30 a.m. My current commute times take 45 to 60 minutes one way. I would gladly sacrifice 90 minutes if it meant taking public transportation to and from work. My employer will reimburse public transportation costs through our benefits package. I would cause fewer emissions, less traffic, and be paying more into public transportation. I would love an added Metrolink station in Alton and a stop that went down 64 towards Chesterfield. Barring that, even a bus route would suffice. I would gladly get rid of one of my family's 2 cars. I would save hundreds of dollars per month and thousands per year if I didn't have a car payment, insurance, gas, and maintenance fees. I know I'm just one commuter, but a 90-minute commute that could take me to and from work without the need for a personal vehicle would be ideal."
Thank you. May I have an approval for the minutes of the May 21st, 2021 Operations Committee?
So
Unless there are
moved.
changes or edits.
I'm sorry, so moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you. The next item is the contract award for the Brentwood facility and bus cleaning service, and I'm going to ask Tom Curran for comments.
Good morning, Commissioners. This morning, I'm presenting for the committee's review and referral to the full board for approval, a request to enter into a contract with World Management, Inc. to provide cleaning services for our building and buses at our Brentwood facility. 5 proposals were received in response to our solicitation for this 5-year contract. All 5 were determined to be responsive to our solicitation, and they were reviewed by an evaluation committee consisting of staff and Metro's maintenance department. Scores for each of the proposing firms are included in your briefing paper. World Management, Inc. received the highest score based on a combination of technical and cost criteria. The cost of the 5-year contract is $5.15 million. Management recommends that the Operations Committee approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners for final approval this request to authorize the President and CEO to enter into an agreement with World Management, Inc. for these cleaning services. Funds will be committed annually through our operating budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Item number 6, contract award for the central facility and caller ride van cleaning. Tom Curran, you're also up.
The next request for the committee's review and referral to the full board for approval is again our cleaning of facility and caller ride vans at Metro Central facility. In April, Bi-State issued a solicitation seeking proposals for these cleaning services. 3 proposals were received for this 5-year contract, including MERS Goodwill, World Management, Inc., and Inex. All 3 of the proposals were determined to be responsive to our solicitation, and they were also reviewed by an evaluation committee of the maintenance department staff members. Based on technical and cost criteria, World Management, Inc. had the highest scoring proposal. The cost of this 5-year contract is $3.46 million. Management recommends that the operations committee approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners for final approval this request to authorize the President and CEO to enter an agreement with World Management, Inc. for these cleaning services. Again, funds will be committed annually through our operating budget. I should note that World Management, Inc. Is based in North County. It is a female-owned minority, disadvantaged business enterprise. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Tom? I just have one, Tom, since it appears that both of these contracts will be, the recommendation is for the same company. Have we used them before?
Actually, if I could defer to anybody else on the call, Jessica, do you know if we have utilized World Management, Inc. previously?
Good morning, Commissioners. I don't believe World Management has been the prime on a contract. They likely have been a DBE on previous contracts. We have many different facility and vehicle cleaning contracts, so I can't tell you which contracts they've participated within. I would note that this firm scored the highest on the technical proposal component, reinforcing the confidence we have in their ability to execute the services.
Happy to hear that. Thank you. Any other questions? Then I would entertain a motion to approve.
I so move.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you. Under number 7, the contract award for track maintenance services. Again, Mr. Curran.
Our next contract award recommendation is in regard to Metrolink track maintenance services. In April, Bi-State issued a solicitation to obtain a qualified firm for maintenance and repair of our Metrolink rail system, track, and related structures. The period of performance for this contract is 3 base years with 2 option years. Proposals were received from Iron Horse, Inc. and Railworks Track Services. Both of the proposals were determined to be responsive to the solicitation requirements, and they were reviewed by an evaluation committee consisting of rail right-of-way maintenance personnel. Proposals were scored in accordance with the evaluation requirements in the solicitation package. And following the technical scoring, a consensus meeting was held to review both the technical and the cost scores. Iron Horse, Inc. was determined to be the highest ranking proposer. The Iron Horse bid amount of $4.3 million exceeded Bi-State's independent cost estimate of $3.6 million, and therefore negotiations followed. Compared to the previous contract, labor hours had increased more than 20% for the 5-year period, and equipment rates had increased 8%. So Bi-State reduced the crew size for this proposal and was able to obtain a best and final offer from Iron Horse of $3.96 million, which is within 10% of our independent cost estimate. Therefore, management is recommending that the Operations Committee forward an approval recommendation to the Board of Commissioners for the President and CEO to enter into a contract with Iron Horse, Inc. for the negotiated amount of $3.96 million with an additional contingency not exceeding 10%.
Thank you. Any questions for Tom? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? Thank you. Item number 9, the operations management software, the Hastis update. Jessica, I think you're up for comments.
Good morning again, Commissioners. I'm here before you to present a request for advancement to the Board of Commissioners for an award of a contract not to exceed $2 million to Giro for the purposes of a Hastis system upgrade. Hastis is our operator dispatch and payroll system. It is the critical link between our scheduling systems and our operations team, and the operations team and our payroll departments. This is how we schedule operator work and track operator pay. This system is beyond its useful life, first implemented in 2006. The Hastis software system is out of upgrade licensure. Likewise, the Oracle database that we're using to support Hastis and the Windows Server, which is 2003, that Hastis sits on, cannot be upgraded in the current version. We wish to upgrade our existing Hastis system. The cost for this is $2 million, which includes a $500,000 licensing fee and a $1.5 million in implementation services paid to Giro. Any questions about this?
How long will this upgrade last?
Commissioner, we expect the upgrade to last I'm trying to get my light on the order of 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
The last version has lasted us 15 years. We would love to have replaced it several years ago, but we anticipate at a minimum 5. I would put an upper limit on 10 though.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. A second. Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. We're moving through quickly. Under item number 9, Talby, is there any unscheduled business?
No, Chair, and I'll have no report, and we'll move directly to operations with Jessica.
Thank you.
Commissioners, I'd like to give you a brief operations report focusing on fiscal year 2021 year-end performance. I'd like to talk about our workforce shortage and what that means for us in the months ahead. We ended the fiscal year with Metrobus down about 40%, Metrolink down 48%, and Coloride was about flat. Again, Coloride serves disabled customers, and there were some incentives, including the removal of fare for most of fiscal year 2021 that encouraged demand. We ended the year with expenses 6% below budget. However, our revenue was 54% below budget, and that led to a significantly diminished fare box recovery ratio, down 51%. As a reminder, fare box recovery is the percent of our operating budget that's recovered through passenger fares. Now, I want to put our ridership loss in the context of the nationwide stage. Across the country, transit system ridership is down about 80%. So while we have lost a tremendous amount of our core ridership, we are a little better than our peer systems at this time, which really reinforces the importance of transit to so many people across the St. Louis metropolitan region. The last year has also marked a time of instability in terms of service level. We ramped service down through early 2020 and then began to ramp back up in calendar year 2021 and toward the end of the fiscal year. Ramping up has been our goal of trying to restore service level to a credible cadence so that we can welcome customers back to the system. Today, we're operating about 89% of our pre-pandemic Metrobus and 90% of pre-pandemic Metrolink service. We are struggling, however, to fulfill that service requirement because we are short on our frontline team members, namely operators, also mechanics and electricians. As we look into the months ahead, we have a goal of stabilizing our service so that our customers can expect their bus or their train to arrive as scheduled. Our existing team is doing a phenomenal job of supporting the service. And while we are down 14% on Metro bus operators, we're still able to execute 98% of our scheduled trips. We are executing 100% of our scheduled Metrolink trips and about 86% of our scheduled paratransit trips. In our September 6th service change, which is our next quarterly service change, we're going to bring service level down a little bit. We will drop service about 5% on Missouri Metrobus. Illinois Metrobus and Metrolink will remain the same. We've taken this action so that our customers know that we're going to deliver our service as scheduled. Those reductions come in the form of reducing frequency on 9 Metrobus routes. Namely, we're taking those routes, several of them are going to from 15-minute to 20-minute frequency. None of our routes are being suspended at this time. Our aim is to reduce service in such a way to minimize the impact on our customer, to ensure that we can support the passenger loads that our customers demand, especially at peak times, and to ensure that we have the ability to restore service as soon as our workforce grows. We are anticipating additional, more modest reductions in service through fall of 2021, and we have a goal of beginning to restore that service in spring of 2022. We will soon release to our customers details of that September 6th service change. We're also updating our customers weekly and even on a daily basis through our transit app and rider alert system about trips that we anticipate suspending so that our customers can plan ahead to the extent possible. We have a pilot program in place right now with Lyft that would help us to provide last-minute connections to our customers for whom a bus is missing, especially if it is an infrequent route. We'll share more on that once we get past this prototype phase, which we began just last week. We discussed in executive session a number of strategies that are intended to help us retain our existing valued and skilled team members, to recruit new team members, and to provide more and better employee development and training so that we have a stronger Metro team moving forward. I look forward to sharing the details of those plans and programs and our progress in the months ahead. Commissioners, are there any questions about our FY21 performance or our response to our workforce shortage?
Any questions for Jessica?
Thank you. At our next.
I have no questions on that. Thank you for that report. And I don't know if you're prepared on the fare collection system that we had talked about back in May at the meeting. Has there been any movement on that that I may have missed?
Yeah, Commissioner Simmons, staff has prepared a workshop format suite of content regarding fare collection. Mr. Roach has been working with Chair Wynn Miller to schedule a review date for that content. Our hope is that we would have a workshop session or special meeting to share and be able to go into a little bit deeper detail about fare collection. So we stand at the ready to have that conversation as soon as the opportunity becomes available. It is our hope that we would be poised to present this item to the full Board of Commissioners at our September 20th meeting so that we can continue on schedule. We do have a September 30th conclusion date for our current pilot extension contract.
Fine, thank you. I look forward to that.
And our next meeting of the Operations Committee Commissioners, which occurs on October 15th, it is our intention to provide you with an update of our capital program, to review progress and the state of the system, and to focus on some of the state of good repair needs across our Metrolink system.
Thank you, Jessica. Just a quick question, which has to do with the anticipated service cuts. You indicated that one would begin or would be communicated on September 5th.
It would actually be executed on September 5th, Commissioner. Actually, I apologize, September 6th.
6th, okay. So, but you also indicated that there would have to be another round of potential service cuts later in the fall.
Yes, Commissioner. So we are planning another round of reductions at our November 29th service change and possibly also some modest reductions in frequency at an interim time. Our goal is to be able to, with our existing workforce, as well as the overtime being worked by our existing operators, to be able to arrive at a service level that we know that we can sustain and support. We are concerned that our September 6th planned service change isn't quite going to get us there. We are trying to provide a measured response, and we're hopeful that our recruiting efforts will bear fruit, but know that from the time we actually bring someone in the door and they join our team, it does take a number of weeks to actually onboard them and then move them through training. So it's a minimum 2-month process from when we get someone on staff until they're actually ready to operate a vehicle.
Understandably. Thank you. I think this was for informational purposes only, if I'm correct.
Yes, Commissioner.
So I think the last item on our agenda is in terms of reports is Talby, do you have any comments for us?
I think you've heard enough from me today.
Then I would ask Myra to call for the future meeting dates for our committee.
Yes, the next meeting of the Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee will be held on Friday, August 20th at 8:30. The next Board of Commissioners meeting will be held on Friday, September 24th at 8:30.
Great, thank you. That's all the agenda items I have, and there aren't any for the executive session. So if I have no further business from any of the commissioners, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great. Good to see you all. Enjoy the rest
You
of it.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Take
time.
care, commissioners.